Squad, welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you decided to click on today's video to join me for another budgeting adventure. If you are new, welcome. My name is Summer and I'm currently on a financial journey to pay off all of my debt while saving money at the same time. Here on my channel, I am documenting my journey to financial freedom, and I make videos on budgeting, paying off debt, saving money, and pretty much anything money related. If that's content that you're interested in, go ahead and stick around and give this video a thumbs up, and definitely consider hitting that subscribe button to join the Budget Squad. I would love to have you become a part of the YouTube family. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back and joining me for another video. I truly appreciate your support. So in today's video, we are going to be budgeting out my last paycheck for 2024, which is going to be used to cover all of my January 2025 expenses. I am so excited to be filming this video. I did go ahead and decide to use my new budget planner for 2025 to budget out my last paycheck. So we are going to be using this planner. If you missed my last video of me setting up my budget calendar for January, go ahead and check out that video. So we've already set up my budget calendar for January, and the next page in the workbook is a paycheck budget tracker. In the workbook, you do get 5 paycheck budget trackers. I am paid monthly on the last working day of the month, so I only use one paycheck tracker. That's why I just went ahead and put my December paycheck in this workbook. However, I'm not going to be using this information to close out my January budget. I'm going to be using all of my income in January for that. This paycheck will show up on my tracker. So the Budget Mom does recommend using your budget from the start of the month to the end of the month. Some people do like to use it from their start of their first paycheck. To keep things simple, I'm just going to use my tracking period from January 1st to January 28th. So when I go and set up my expense tracker, which we will be doing tomorrow, I am going to put my checking account and then my starting balance in my checking account, and then I'm going to start tracking all of my checking account expenses on this tracker. And then I'm going to do the same thing for cash. I'm going to calculate how much money I have in my cash envelopes and then use that as my starting balance for January. So let's just go ahead and budget out my December paycheck. If you are new, I do budget using the Budget by Paycheck workbook by the Budget Mom. You do not have to have this workbook to create a budget. You can create a budget using just a pen and piece of paper. I have been using her workbook for a couple of years now, and I really do like how detailed it is. It definitely helps me to keep my finances organized. So I will be using this in 2025 as well. Here on my channel, I do share my real numbers. I am a teacher and my income is public record, so I do go ahead and share that information with you guys. Let me grab my calculator. So let's go ahead and get started with budgeting out my paycheck. I am actually budgeting out my paycheck from my paycheck date, December 18th. I am a teacher and I get paid the last working day of the month, and the last working day of this month was the 18th. So let's go ahead and budget out my December 18th paycheck. I am a teacher and get paid the last working day of the month. Because of the holidays, I did get paid early this month. I got paid on the 18th, which means I am not going to receive my next paycheck for about 6 weeks. I will receive it January 28th. So let's go ahead and budget out my paycheck. So when creating a budget, the first thing that you want to do is you want to list all of your income sources. That way you can get your income total. I did go ahead and list out my income to save time. And my main checking account, $6,947.62 was deposited. I do have my teacher check split up into two accounts. I have the majority going into my checking account, and then I do have a summer saver account that I put $400 in that account. And that is a savings account that accumulates a little bit more interest than your typical savings account. This savings account is at 6.5%, and you are able to contribute up to $2,000 a month into that account. I'm only contributing $400 a month. One day I do hope to be able to max out the full $2,000, but I'm just not there yet, but that definitely is a goal. And then I have about $500 of extra income come in a month. So now that I've listed my income sources and totals, let's go ahead and add those up to get my inflow total. $6,947.62 plus $400 plus $500. So we are going to be budgeting a total of $7,847.62. I'm going to go ahead and put this on the inflow line. And now that I have my income total, the next thing that I need to budget for are my fixed expenses. Fixed expenses are expenses that tend to stay about the same every month. They are your bills, and they typically will have a due date. I did go ahead and list out all of my fixed expenses just to save time, but I will be going over that information with you guys. I am using the Budget by Paycheck workbook, the small workbook, so there are not as many lines as the bigger workbook. So what I did is I don't have a lot of saving goals or sinking funds that I'm going to be budgeting for. I'm not even going to be budgeting for any sinking funds this month. So I went ahead and used the saving goals to carry over my bills that did not fit in this section. So I have the following bills. My mortgage is $3,937.38. I do have an HOA because I live in a condo. It's $485. That did go up $10 this year. I do have SDG&E, which is $129. My cell phone for my son and I is $147.17. My internet is $60.33. I do have an Instant Ink subscription, which is $7.57 a month. USAA, which is my auto insurance, is $130.64. I do have an Epidemic Sound subscription, which is $17.99 a month. Puppy insurance for my dog is $85.53. This bill did go down. I went ahead and lowered my plan. Previously it was $100 and something, so now it's $85.53. My son does take piano lessons, which are $110 a month. I do have an Orange Theory membership, which is $169 a month. I am a member at a local winery, which is $25 a month. I do invest $150 a month with American Funds. Apple, which is for my Apple Watch, is $41.58. I do have a personal loan, which is $249.72. I do have an Audible subscription, which is $14.95 a month. I do have iCloud, which is extra storage for my cell phone, which is $2.99. I do have a WW subscription, which is $23.99. I do have Cinch, which is a home warranty plan, which is $35.99 a month. I do have an Oura Ring subscription, which is $5.99 a month. I have a car wash subscription for unlimited car washes. That is $59.75 a month. And then I do have another personal loan, which is $296.50. So those are all of my fixed expenses. In my workbook, it does have you do a budget. So this is how much you are anticipating all of the bills to cost. And then as those bills are paid, you go ahead and write the actual amount that you paid. So now that I have all of my fixed expenses, let's go ahead and add up those expenses to get my fixed expense total. And this is the 2025 Budget Mom workbook. This is her newest workbook. And in this workbook, I am noticing some of her categories did change. I think this says, I'm noticing that some of her categories did change. This says inflow total. I think previously it said income total. And then this says fixed expense total. And I think previously it said bill total. It's all the same thing. So if you are using a previous edition workbook, it's the exact same process. It's just a different name. So let's go ahead and add up all of my fixed expenses. $3,937.38 plus $485 plus $129 plus $147.17 plus $60.33 plus $757 plus $130.64 plus $17.99 plus $85.53 plus $110 plus $169 plus $25 plus $150 plus $41.58 plus $249.72 plus $14.95 plus $299 plus $23.99 plus $35.99 plus $5.99 plus $59.75 plus $296.50. So my fixed expenses come out to $6,186.07. And let's just go ahead and check that to make sure that is correct. So I'm using this dual calculator, so I'm going to go ahead and move this number to the second screen. So let's go ahead and put that on my fixed expense total line. So now that I have my fixed expense total, we need to see how much money we are left with after paying all of my fixed expenses. So we're going to take my inflow total, $7,847.62, and subtract my fixed expense total of $6,186.07. So that means I'm left with $1,661.55. The next thing that we need to budget for are my variable expenses. Variable expenses are your cash envelopes, and these will tend to vary month to month depending on what you have going on and your financial goals. So I'm going to put my leftover amount on the leftover line, so $1,661.55. And I have the following cash envelopes: food, transportation, fun, personal care, household, and miscellaneous. For food, food is going to get $500. Transportation is going to get $250. Fun is going to get $100. Personal care is going to get $325. I did go ahead and change this category name to personal care. It used to be called self-care. And then I also am including my guilt-free. I no longer have a guilt-free category that is going to be part of my personal care. So that is why that amount did go up. Previously, I was giving myself $300 for self-care, and then guilt-free would vary anywhere between $0 to $100. So for personal care, I'm just going to give myself $325 this month. Household is going to get $125, and miscellaneous is going to get $50. So now that I have budgeted for my variable expenses, let's go ahead and add up my variable expenses to get my variable expense total. So $500 plus $250 plus $100 plus $325 plus $125 plus $50 is $1,350. So let's take my leftover amount of $1,661.55 and subtract my variable expense total of $1,350. That means I'm left over with $311.55. We are not going to be budgeting for any saving goals this month. I am going to be participating in the Budget Moms monthly savings challenge. However, that money will come out of my cash envelopes to cover that challenge. This month for debt, I'm not going to be budgeting any extra. For extra debt, I'm not going to be budgeting for any extra debt payments. I will resume extra debt payments in February. And then for savings, for extra savings, I'm just going to leave a buffer in my account. And I'm going to leave a buffer in my account in the amount of $311.55. And I'm going to leave this buffer in my account because we just had Christmas. We had my son's birthday. I did not have a Christmas sinking fund this year. I do have money in my savings account. I just had a general savings account and I would deposit money into that. So I am going to be taking money from my savings account to cover all of those expenses. And then I'm just going to keep this $300 in my account to cover my Christmas expenses. My son's birthday is tomorrow, January 1st. So to help cover that. And I'm sure that this should be enough money. And if this is not, I'll just take the rest from my savings account. I'm not very happy with how I did last year financially. I do want to make some major adjustments to budgeting. And I'm really looking forward to starting fresh in January, but I definitely wanted to do a budget for this paycheck. That way I can take out my variable expense money and use that money for January. So in January, my goal is to track all of my spending and to be able to close out my budget. It's going to look a little funky because I am not going to get my first paycheck until the end of the month. However, all the money that I have in my checking account and in my cash envelopes, I'm going to be putting the starting balance on my trackers. And then my first paycheck, we will budget at the end of January when I get it. So I'm going to keep this as a buffer. So my saving total is going to be $311.55. So if we take my leftover amount after my bills, $311.55, and subtract my buffer of $311.55, that means we're going to be left over with $0. And that is how you get a zero-based budget where every dollar is accounted for. Typically, I would not be leaving this much money in my account as a buffer. However, I do know December was a very spendy month for me, and I have already started spending this paycheck without creating a budget. So that's why this one's a little weird this month, but next month it will not be this. Every dollar will definitely be accounted for. So after our saving goals, we're left with $0, and we're doing zero debt. So then that means I'm still going to be left over with $0. And you can see if you have a zero-based budget by taking your income total, then subtracting your fixed expense total, then subtracting your variable expenses, then subtracting your saving goals, then subtracting your debt, and then you should be left with $0. That's how you can ensure that you have a zero-based budget where every dollar is accounted for. Then on this sheet right here, the cash envelope breakdown sheet. I am cashless for the majority of my variable expenses. Food, I'm cashless for. Transportation, I keep in my checking account. Fun, I'm cashless for. Personal care, I am half cashless, half not. I'm giving myself $325 for personal care. And then household, I'm cashless for, and then miscellaneous, I'm cashless for. But personal care, I'm going to put $25 on a Go card. That used to be my guilt-free card. And then I'll have the $300 in cash. But then next month, I want to keep some of my fun/entertainment money in a cash envelope, as well as my personal care envelope. I'm finding that I want to keep fun/entertainment in a cash envelope for when I go out to lunch with my friends. I want to be able to have cash. I'm finding that when I have my debit card, I end up spending a lot more than I should be, because sometimes when I'm at restaurants, people will want to split the payment by how many people are at the table. However, this is not always fair, especially if others are drinking and I'm not drinking. So I definitely want to just pay cash. That way I know how much I spent on my meal and drinks and how much I want to leave for tip, and I'll just do that in cash. And then if they want to use their card, they can. The last few times that I've gone out, I've definitely ended up paying a lot more than I should have. So I'm going to be fixing that, and just to avoid some uncomfortable conversations, I'm just going to be paying cash. Well, that is a look at my December paycheck budget tracker. And this is going to be covering my January bills. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and definitely consider hitting that subscribe button to join me on my financial journey. I would love to have you become a part of the Budget Squad. If you have made it to the end of this video, go ahead and leave me a blue heart. That way I know that you made it to the end of the video. Well, I hope that you have an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye. But before you go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It definitely helps out my channel, and I truly appreciate your support.